Okay. Hey, everyone. It's Alan Schimmel, and welcome to another DevOps.com webinar. Delighted to have you join us today. We have a really good webinar from our friends at Opsani, including, well, he's not old, but he's an old friend of mine, Patrick Conti. And I've been looking forward to doing this, getting together with Pat for a while now. The webinar today is a continuous optimization as a service. We're going to talk about what that means and how exactly why you should care about it. But before we do, let me do some housekeeping here. Number one, we are, if you haven't already noticed, using something called the Big Marker webinar system for our webinars today. We like it. It's a nice web-based system here with nothing to download. I want to go over the interface real quickly with you, though. Not the whole interface, because we're just for you to partake and interact with us during today's webinar. If you notice, beyond the large window with the slides, and you'll see our video hopefully below that, to the right of that, you'll see another section of the interface marked chat and Q&A, etc. We do have chat open to the public. For our webinars today, we use the chat more for technical support. So if for some reason maybe the slides aren't showing up or they're not progressing, a video or audio problem, but you can get to that chat window. And if you can type in there, we do have folks standing by who will try to help you with your problem and make sure you get the most out of today's webinar. Next to the chat section, though, you'll find an area marked Q&A. This is Q&A, questions and answers. So this is where we're going to ask if you want to ask a question of our panelists, and we have set aside time, and we are looking forward to your questions. You can type it in there. We'll have a record of it. You don't have to worry about forgetting it. You can, put it in as it pops into your head, and we'll get to it at the appropriate time. So please use the Q&A section for your questions. Lastly, and I'm not even sure if it shows up on your interface, I have the admin interface here. We're going to be doing some polling questions today. I know not everyone wants to click and answer a poll or read through them. I'm going to read them to you. But I have to tell you the truth, having done a lot of webinars, it helps so much to get a little feedback, on the fly here from our audience to understand, where you are on the questions we're answering. The questions are not rocket science. For the most part, they're pretty simple. Multiple choice questions, but they're only as good as your answers. So please don't make me beg you here to answer the polling questions. Do answer the poll questions. Let's make it happen. Both Patrick and Ross, our panelists today, will thank you. So with that being said, though, let me introduce you to our panelists. And first, as I mentioned, this gentleman, Patrick Conti, Pat and I go back 20, 21, 22 years, and not all at Opsani, I should mention. But Pat, welcome to my webinar today, and thanks so much for sponsoring and joining us.
Thanks, Alan. Great to be with you. Great to talk to you again. And yeah, it's been more than 20 years. Back when we called them ISPs and ASPs, not CSPs.
Exactly. Yeah. What's changed? What's new is old, though. Joining Pat and I, though, I'm really happy to be joined by the CEO here, Ross of Opsani, Ross Schibler. Ross, welcome to our webinar. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for having us, and great to be here.
Yep. I'd like to move to the second slide if we can. I'm not controlling slides, but we're going to talk about continuous optimization as a service, and we have this slide right up here right now that I'm going to let Patrick and Ross jump into, but I really wanted to spend a little bit of time. We live in a world of buzzwords, guys. We live in a world of buzzwords. Everything is continuous. Everything is as a service, right? And I think people get jaded and they get desensitized to some of these phrases. I want to, Pat, Ross, I want to really explain to our audience what it is we're talking about. And Pat, look, you're a guy who's been up and down the tech world every way, 7 ways from Sunday, right? Ross, you've also been around a long time. Why? What turns you on about this, right? What gets your juices going? Why do you think this is so important, right? I've never met a CEO or a founder or an executive who didn't think in some small way what their company is doing is somehow making the world better,
Right. Well,
right?
for
Go.
sure. I mean, the thing that really gets me, going about this is using a technique that was used in to teach cars how to drive. And I figured if we had techniques that had machines that were smart enough to drive cars, they could certainly drive infrastructure. And that was the kind of the core of this, is that this is the infrastructure complexities have gone beyond human scale, and now we need to bring in machines and AI and autonomous operations to really make the most of our infrastructure. And sure, you can set it. You can do it with humans. You can decide when you move your applications into the cloud on how much CPU and how much memory and how many worker threads and all sorts of things that you would do to configure them and configure the settings for your application in the cloud. But my observation was that this was very inefficient, and it was not only a waste of human time, but a waste of machine time and machine costs. And the configurations weren't always optimal. And so the thing that turned me on was the ability to use AI and specifically active learning to basically tune applications to run, 3-5 times better than they were being configured manually. And because we live in a dynamic world and there's lots of different parameters, trillions of different combinations, and it's just gone beyond human scale, and it's now a job for AI, and that's what's really exciting for me.
Pat, how about you?
Yeah, well, there's a few things. One, I've been in primarily the cybersecurity world over most of the last 10 years. Ross and I have known each other for 20 years as well. We worked together at a startup company in the supercomputing space called Topspin, and that company was acquired by Cisco back in the 2000s. So we've known each other for a long time. And as I said, I've been in the data center space, but mostly cybersecurity. And what I saw over the last few years were companies that were moving to the cloud, and maybe more importantly, choosing multi-cloud. And when Ross started Opsani and started this whole idea of taking workload tuning and making it autonomous, making it really using automation to do things that humans could do. I knew that from being in the cyber world that customers needed those kind of capabilities across clouds. And so when I saw what Ross was doing, I saw that it was really a different way of helping customers, not just with the problem, but in the environments that they wanted to go into. So I thought really this had huge potential for customers, and really we think that just about every customer on the marketplace is going to need this at some point here.
I don't disagree. Guys, we have this concept of fintech, because one of the things I think, Ross, to your point, is that there's so many dials in today's cloud environments that it's almost impossible for humans, even a team of humans, to really get a handle on those dials. So as a result, what happens, it's one of two things, right? It's kind of anti-Goldilocks or an opposite Goldilocks effect. Either we're spending a lot more money than we have to because we're buying excess machine capacity, right? Or excess storage, some sort of excess technology there. Or we're not buying enough and working harder and kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. It's very hard to dial in all of those dials just right. So no matter what, so without some, you want to call it artificial intelligence, you want to call it, machine learning, but without something there to really automate this for us, it's damn near impossible to not be wasteful or underperform it, right? To undercut it. At the same time, the optimization process allows us to be so much more efficient, not just in terms of money or resources, but in terms of, Gene Kim in the Phoenix project and the Dora studies with Google, what they call high performing IT teams, right? To be so much more high performing in terms of frequency of deployments and efficiency of deployments and so forth. It's almost, counterintuitive that you can turn the dials to optimize your spend at the same time, be so much more efficient in your deployments as well. You get it's like a double dip, and it sounds great. But as they say, the proof is in the pudding. We have this first slide up here, and I know we were talking more about it, but let's start explaining to our audience just a little bit, if you don't mind, what we mean and what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's maybe go to the next slide. Let's imagine that we've got a product owner, and he's going to basically get some developers to code and develop a feature or a microservice, and that's going to run through a chain of build, test, and integrate, and then go into production, basically, whether it's pre-production and then production, a staging environment. And then it finally meets the real world, and then they find out there's a performance lag. Either the cost has gone out of control, or the performance isn't there. There's some lag for the users, or there's unpredictable performance. And at that point, then the work really starts, and now they have to start monitoring it, or bring in maybe synthetic load testers or an APM to figure out what's going on, and feed. And the usual gut reaction is just to over provision, add more infrastructure, add more instances, add more memory or CPU until it doesn't until things that don't look so bad anymore. And then usually that doesn't work. So then they've got to go back to the test environment and manually change some settings, or change the number of worker threads or some of the environmental variables that they're using, and see if that works. And worst case, they might have to go back and rebuild some of the code to get there. In our world, we're doing, when you talked about continuous optimization, we're in the actual runtime environment, and we are reading the performance metrics of the application, feeding that into our autonomous configuration changes, system that is actually on the fly in real time, making these configuration changes to the application to ensure that you get the higher performance, you get the lower cost, you get the higher availability, and that's the huge benefit. And it's done autonomously. There's no human in the loop. It's done completely based on the performance and the cost of the application. Bring down the cost, as you say, double dip, get your availability, your performance up, and without breaking the bank.
So maybe before we go to the next slide, sorry, Alan, I was just going to make a quick comment.
Go.
But yeah, before we go to the poll, as Ross is talking about, optimization. Usually, what happens is, there's a service level objective that the customer, either has set or they want to achieve, right? And so what we're able to do is optimize around that objective. If that objective is a performance objective, then we can optimize the use of cloud resources around that. And basically, what happens is they get a better performance, typically 10 to 30% better performance than they were expecting, and they get a much lower spend because we've optimized the infrastructure underneath, usually something like 30 to 50% of that. So the combination of that is pretty powerful. but maybe more importantly than anything, they get a more reliable and stable application. And what happens here is their customers get a better experience. And most of our customers, that is the thing they're looking for, is a better experience. And the result is they get lower cost, they get better performance, and that consistent experience is really the result of the continuous optimization, regardless of the traffic or regardless of new code being pushed. As Ross is showing here, it doesn't matter. The faults that would typically happen with those things, we're going to soak those up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was getting at, Pat. It's almost counterintuitive that by, you're optimizing across the board, so to speak, and the resulting savings in terms of spend on cloud, as well as the improved performance, less is more, right?
Yeah.
It really is a nice win-win. It really is, and it's good to see with that. I think we've got a polling question next, but before we get to it, I wanted to just let our audience know, look, this isn't pie in the sky and this isn't down the road stuff. We're going to do a real demo. I think we might have lost Ross for a moment, but we're going to do a real demo later on in here, Pat, right? Where we will, we're going to show people this in real life working, right?
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, going to the next polling question while we wait for Ross.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep. All right. So guys, here's our polling question. And again, please partake in this. It gives us a little feedback of where we are. How many of you would be okay with an autonomous system doing all the work in determining your application settings? Yes, you're okay with it? Ooh, we got some feedback going on. No, you're not okay with it. Or maybe I want to learn more. So yes, no, maybe. Do your thing here. Interested to see where we are. So I don't have insight into how many people. Oh, Ross is back. Great. I don't have insight into how many people have answered, or maybe I do. But I'd like to close this out. So we'll close it out here in, I don't know, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if we could see the results here, Jade, I don't know if you hear me. Can we see the results of that? Well, we can't see the results of that, but I'll try to get you the results here in a moment. Looks like we had a little hiccup. All right, we will come back to the polling. Oh, wait, I got the results here for us. Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm at election night and I'm Fox or something, and no one's going to yell at me. But okay, how many of you would be okay with an autonomous system doing all the work in determining your application settings? 32, just 1/3 of the people, 32%, just under a third, said, yeah, that would be fine. 12% said, no, not happening. 56% said maybe. So that's got to be encouraging, I guess, right, Pat and Ross, for y'all. People are willing, at least more than half are willing to take a look at it. Kind of reminds me, Pat, back in the day, in my cyber days, when we broke out from IDS to IPS, and we were going to automatically block certain traffic. Sounded like a great idea, but early on, we ran into a lot of resistance because people were afraid to automatically block stuff. Of course, today it's common, right? It's the thing to do, but interesting. So we've got to show people. Let's go to our next slide, if it's okay. Okay, our next slide is a bit of a case study here on Intuit QuickBooks Online. Ross, I'm hoping your audio and video are okay. That you're back.
Yeah,
you want to? Yeah, I think we got an audio.
Okay. All right,
Pat, I'm going to need you to do the lifting on this.
Yeah, no worries until Ross gets back on. Yeah, so
Okay.
this case study is, as everybody can see, is Intuit QuickBooks, one of our major customers, and essentially they were doing manual application tuning, and they knew that they didn't have it. They didn't have optimization done. They knew that they had a lot of more headroom they could go in terms of performance and getting the spend down. Really, I think the key thing was they knew that they weren't sure where in the stack they needed to tune. So they came to us saying they knew they needed automation autonomous automation. And so essentially when we applied Opsani to Intuit, to QuickBooks Online, what happened was that they actually saw an improvement in their performance, which they weren't expecting. They were expecting performance to basically be able to maintain a steady pace, but they would get a lower spend based on a more efficient use of resources. They actually got both. So they got a performance improvement, and they got a significant drop in the cost based on optimizing the infrastructure underneath and the settings. And all told, it was almost an 80% improvement in performance costs.
Wow.
The other thing that they saw in this regard was a much more stable environment, and to the point where their coders were able to code and get features out 5 times faster than they were able to do before.
That's phenomenal. Pat, I want to make sure we don't have a typo here. You're telling me they trimmed their AWS EC2 bill by 72%?
Yes.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I mean, we're not talking peanuts here. That's big money.
No, it's big money, and no matter even if you've negotiated a better price with the AWS or whatever, this is off of whatever price you have. So, because we're gonna optimize that infrastructure regardless of the deal that you cut with them, and we're gonna make sure that you're always right sized. That is, I think, the key to optimization, is making sure that the settings and the infrastructure are right sized for whatever the circumstances are, traffic level or code, environment, or any of those kinds of things.
And then on top of that, not only did you save 72% in AWS bill, but you improved latency by 10%, which is significant. Just really great.
Typically what happens, Alan, as I said before, is the customer's going to see a performance improvement above their service level objective, and they're going to see a drop in cost. Like you said, the double dip. But the important thing overall is their customers' experience, right? Our customers on the other end of their SaaS application, their experience is the thing that we're all trying to improve, and that's what optimization does.
That is amazing. Ross, I wanted to come back to you and see maybe if your audio problems are fixed.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to add was the monthly minutes saved or uptime. We tuned Java parameters, and it reduced the number of times that you had kind of full GC events, and machines would occasionally go down. Not often, but we reduced that by an order of magnitude. So the number of times somebody's pager would go off because some server was having an issue went down by 80%, which was a significant savings for them.
It's phenomenal, guys. All right. Do we have anything else on this one? I think we have another polling question coming up. Yeah. Okay. So our next polling question, and again, guys, please jump in here and help us out. Where are you on your path to continuous optimization? You're just getting started. Optimization right now is manual and based upon engineers' intuition and experience. Or B, you're using some application performance monitoring, APM, to guide your engineers, and it's still a manual implementation. C, using application performance monitoring and an automated performance recommendation engine to guide your engineers, but yet again, it's still a manual implementation. Or D, your fully automated optimization, discovery, and implementation. So if you guys can take a quick question, a quick second here to answer, I would appreciate it. It'll help formulate where we go. Let me, come on, guys, a few more answers here if we can would be nice. But we'll close it out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoop. It closed before I had a chance to see it. All right, here we go. So 21% were just getting started. 43%, almost half the audience, using application performance monitoring to guide, but manual nevertheless. 21%, about the same as A. In C, using some APM and an automated performance recommendation engine, but still manual, and only 2 people on fully automated optimization discovery. And I have to say, I'm probably not surprised by only 2 people down at D. I think a lot of people are still discovering what these kinds of solutions, the power they bring to it. Ross, what do you think about that?
Yeah, we're very early on the journey for sure, and this is a new idea that we built the company around. So I'm not that surprised, and it the opportunity is certainly there to make huge improvements in our performance, latency, and cost, and save people time and money basically.
And that is what it comes down to. If we can go to our next slide. So, well, it's your webinar. I can't do all the slides for you, but I jump in if you want me to. But I'm gonna let you two explain this one.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about here is what our optimization and auto scaling capability that is pretty unique provide is really the ability to optimize a single large application. If our customers have something like that, like a monolithic application that may be very important. For example, an airline might have a reservation and a loyalty system all bound up in one. That would be a kind of a monolith with many services. That's one thing, but some of our customers have literally hundreds of applications made up of thousands of microservices. And something like that needs automation to be able to discover the apps as well as to onboard them and optimize them. So our backend solution, our machine learning solution, can handle the scalability from a single app all the way up to a full service delivery platform type of a scenario by plugging into other capabilities that the customer's already invested in, and by doing that auto discovery and bringing those services online. The scaling thing is also, I think, pretty interesting because traditional autoscalers scale horizontally, meaning they add copies of the application or replicas. Our autoscaler is able to, using machine learning, decide whether to scale instances up and have less instances that are actually bigger. And that's also counterintuitive sometimes to what the site reliability engineers might think. So we can actually scale in either or both directions depending on what the application is telling us it should be.
Agreed. I tell you, one of the things about the microservices revolution we've seen the last 2-3 years is, as we've moved from large monolithic apps to microservice-based apps, is that there's no limit to the amount of microservices, and managing a complex app with thousands, if not tens of thousands of microservices is beyond human kind of capabilities, even at the team level, to do it in an efficient manner. So without putting Ross, you or Pat on the spot, how many microservices has kind of been seen the biggest implementation that you've optimized for, if you know?
For like hundreds and moving to thousands of microservices. So
Really?
like 600 at the moment, getting towards a couple thousand.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. That's a monster, right? If you to do that manually, it's a hard thing to get your head around there. All right. If it's okay, should we move to the next slide, guys?
Yeah, this is a demo that we'd like to give. This is a kind of
Yep.
showing the setup for that. So let's imagine that we talked about hundreds of microservices, but let's just, for the sake of the demo, talk about a situation where you've got 3 microservices, and we've got a web front end. Let's say it's running Apache, a mid-tier running Java, and a database on the back end. And these services are, tightly coupled, and we can adjust the configuration. Let's say that we're going to decide that we want to adjust the amount of CPU that the front end has. Because it's Apache, the amount of worker threads that it's running. And let's say on the Java mid-tier, we're not sure what garbage collection time interval to use. So we're gonna let that be set by the machine as well, as the memory. And we're going to say it's Postgres on the back end. That's got a variable called commit delay. We'll change that, and we'll change the CPU settings on the back. So maybe we can switch over to the demo. We can stop screen sharing there, and I will bring up the demo and we'll run the demo.
Go ahead.
Thanks. So get this. This should be showing our dashboard of our application, showing the performance of the app and its cost. And you can see when we started off, the performance was like.
Hold on, Greg. I'm sorry, Ross.
Of an SLA, and let's say our SLA is our service level objective, or SLO.
Hey Ross, we're not seeing the.
Ross, I'm not seeing the
front end.
A baseline.
I don't think Ross can hear us.
If I scroll down here, we can see what our baseline was: 1 CPU in the database, and 4 gigs of memory, let's say, in the Java tier.
Here we go. Ross, we had a little problem. We weren't able to see your screen originally. So I hate to do this to you, but can you start from the top on the demo?
Sure.
I apologize.
No worries. So I'm getting a lot of echo. I'm going to pull this earpiece. At the performance level, we started off at let's say 150 requests per second, and that was driven off the baseline settings that we had of 1 CPU and 4 gigs of memory, let's say, and web tier of 1 core. And we can go to the latest, which is what the changes are that we're making. And it's going to update these, and it's now trying 2.6 cores in the database and 4 gigs of memory, let's say, and 1.8 cores on the web tier. And you can see that that's affected the performance. We've now driven the performance up from our start of 150 up to meeting our SLO of 400. So we've had a dramatic improvement in the performance. And now the secondary goal kicks in, which is trying to reduce cost. So it's now going to examine settings for those to reduce the cost. You can see it's brought the cost down already with a couple of tries. So usually we see within about 20 iterations, kind of this 3x or 4x improvement in cost performance. The cost performance ratio now at about 3x. And it's also showing you a scatter plot of performance cost. But basically, you can now see that it's changed these settings to 4 cores, for example, for the database, 9 gigs of memory, and it will eventually find a solution where the cost is less than what it started, and the performance is up, 3x. There you go. It's found a solution there where the cost is low and the performance is still much greater. So there's your double dip. There's your settings, and then we can turn on auto promote, which automatically pushes it to production, or you can do it manually.
So Ross, I've got a few questions, if it's okay. Ross, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I got a few questions I want to. I'm talking as every man now from the audience. Okay, so first of all, what we're seeing here is the actual Opsani interface. This isn't some mock-up. It's not some nonsense. This is what you get when you get the product, right? We can see it in here, and we basically sort of have two axes that we can tune on. One is performance and one is cost, right? And then on that third chart, we're seeing the optimization of both and where they meet. Now, what you're telling me is once you kind of hit go, Opsani itself, and this is not in a production environment right now, it's running in a test mode, right? So Opsani will run through all of the permutations here to optimize it.
Yeah, we can either run in test mode or in live production. In live production, what we do is we take a tuning instance. So let's say you've got 3 or 4, 10 instances or whatever. We'll take one of those instances and we'll make the changes to that one instance and find the optimal. So we'll make small and gradual changes to that instance to find the optimal performance and cost and latency. And when we found an improvement of, let's say, 30%, then the promote, basically most people turn on the auto promote. The promote will take those settings from the tuning instance and push it to the rest of the cluster.
Straight out. Now, average installation, how long does it take this process to go through to find your optimal configurations?
Yeah, we usually like 30 minutes to install and a couple of hours to find something that's significantly better. And after about a day, then you've got the 3x, 5x kind of improvement.
That's beautiful. Now, this is sitting Opsani. Like, how do we install, let's say, into my AWS system here? What's involved in setting it up in AWS?
So what we do is we install what's called a servo in your environment, which is just a container. And that container will make the changes, and then it calls back and to the SaaS service with the measurements and the user interface and all those measurements and all the AI is done by the SaaS service. So all you need to do is basically have this one container that is going to do all the work for you, and that's installed in your AWS environment.
Brilliant. Because again, just want to emphasize for the audience, this is an as a service offering here, right? So we're really just installing the one container. A lot of the heavy lifting is taking place back at the SaaS install, the SaaS space.
Yeah, what our customers see, Alan, is really, there's a back end and a front end piece, right? The back end is a significant piece. That's where the magic happens. All the AI and machine learning stuff that the team has developed is all back there. And then this servo, as Ross said, is one thing we install in the customer's area, right? It's very small. It's a very small container, but what servo does is it pulls the application metrics from the APM or whatever the metric system is. It could be Prometheus or it could be one of the major APMs like like App Dynamics or New Relic or something like that. So it pulls the metrics of the application from the APM or the metric system, and then what it does is it sends those application metrics back to the back end, and the back end sends the changes to be made that go to the application. Then those things get made, and then we find optimal, and then the customer has the choice to either promote it to production or as Ross showed, click on that auto promote. So it's a very simple and pretty lightweight process, and very quick to show value. Agreed.
I mean, I got to be honest with you guys. This is looking a little magical to me, and I'm just, is it really this easy, and does it really work that good, man? Because if it does, everybody should be using it, right?
That's right.
Excellent. So, all right. And forgive me, I got a little confused with everything going on. I want to remind our audience that we do have the Q&A section open, and I know we had some questions that Pat and Ross, the team has been answering as we go here, Alex and so forth. So we've been hitting some of those. But guys in the audience, if you have questions around this, please do pop on here. Are you guys hearing some bad echo in the audio? No?
Sounds okay to me.
We did have a report of that, but okay, let's hope it was just isolated to one person. All right, Pat, do we have slides to go back to here?
I don't think so. I think we've, I think we wanted to emphasize a couple of takeaways here.
Right.
As you said, it does seem a bit magical. I do, our customers. I should take a step back and say, when we started this, when Ross and Peter, our other co-founders, started the company, they were really looking at optimizing pretty much anything, right? Like, bare metal to VMs to containers, different kind of containers and whatnot, and these hybrid environments. And so some of our early implementations are these type of hybrid cloud application environments, in some cases stretching from private cloud to public cloud and multiple public clouds. But I did want to stress for our viewers and listeners here that our customers over the past 6 to 9 months have really been leading us into a focused area, and that is as they are going through their own digital transformation, if you will, and moving their applications to the cloud or opening up brand new applications that are cloud native. They're really focusing in on technology that's portable across clouds, in particular Kubernetes. And so what we've seen from our customers is we can show value very, very quickly in an environment that focuses in sort of, for the Goldilocks, if you will, of this is, cloud applications that are SaaS, containerized, and that use Kubernetes. And it doesn't really matter which Kubernetes service it is. It could be from any of the big service providers. It could even be on-premise in a private cloud Kubernetes service, or it could be something that's hybrid across. It doesn't really matter. We can optimize it. We can do it very quickly, and we can show them value and show them the benefits very, very quickly. The other environments we can do, and if our customers need us to do them, they just require a lot more mutual architecture work. And so what our customers have been leading us to is this environment that where they're going, right? Sort of, from your old days up in the Northeast, skating where the puck is going, as the saying goes.
Yep.
And where it's going is Kubernetes. So a lot of our current environments and engagements are around Kubernetes.
Got it. Let me just again. I'm going to take the everyman kind of role here. So it works in Amazon, but as Pat, as you kind of alluded to, really, if you're in a multi-cloud situation, I got a little bit maybe on Azure, I got a little bit in GCP, maybe even some back on-prem. I could still use Opsani across that, or only on parts of it. How does it work as we scale out to true multi-cloud, multi-platform kind of work there? Ross?
Basically, it would optimize on each cloud, and we have users that are multi-cloud, and you have an application and migrating applications from one cloud to the other, and the settings are completely different that you would use on one cloud to the other. So you move an application that on one guy's using, say, 4 CPUs in this particular instance type on AWS, you move to Azure and you need a completely different configuration. So being able to optimize as applications migrate is a big benefit. It gives them a lot of flexibility.
It really does. I mean, because think about that, right? And that's kind of the beauty of running this as a service. So no matter where that front end is residing, that servo is, it's the algorithms and the magic's back on the back end of the SaaS platform for this. So it's amazing. Guys, if you don't mind me asking, how do you price something like this?
Yeah, so it is a SaaS service. We price it as an annual subscription, and we've got a couple different packagings of the product, right? So we have what we call Opsani Team, which is used. That's the packaging that we use when a customer has a single application or maybe a few applications, right? And they're gonna onboard them one at a time. They may be large applications, made up of of dozens or maybe even hundreds of services, but we'll use Opsani Team to optimize those applications, and we'll onboard them one at a time. And then we have what we call Opsani Platform. Now, Opsani Platform is used when the customer has literally hundreds of applications and/or potentially thousands and thousands of services. And we've got customers doing this today. And what we do is we plug into their deployment platform. It could be Harness, or it could be Spinnaker, or it could be one of the big platforms, Kubernetes platforms from the cloud providers, right? Like EKS or AKS or GKE, something like that. So we'll plug into those APIs through what we call our platform product, and what that'll do is allow us to auto discover the applications and the services, and then be able to optimize them. Once we've discovered them, we can auto optimize them, and we can even auto promote them, as we've shown before. Those settings can be done. That's also an annual subscription, and we'll typically do that for a block of applications. Maybe it's 50 or maybe it's 100, something like that. And so it's kind of an ELA, and all you can eat up to a maximum number of apps or services. So that's those are the two packagings for the product.
Love it. Ross, let me come back to you a little bit here. As the visionary, or one of the visionaries behind this whole, taking the kind of technology we use for autonomous driving and applying it to this cloud optimization, where do you see, where does it go next? Is there anything coming down the pike that maybe is going to cause you to have to rejig something here, or what's the next level of improvements we could do here? Because nothing's ever finished, right? And we live in a world of flux. What's next with this for you?
Yeah, the vision for Opsani has been autonomous operations, and tuning configuration parameters is just the start. But being able to completely run all of your infrastructure without human intervention is the kind of the vision and the goal. And basically, it's autonomous IT operations is the kind of the big picture. And starting off with configuration changes and having machine learning learn off different application behaviors, and then crowdsourcing across applications, across customers. Those things are all down the pike, and pretty exciting things that we will be planning out.
Exciting indeed. Before we go further, I did want to mention, I know we are doing the 4 Amazon winners gift cards that we usually announce around now. If I could just ask in the back end if you could get us the names for our Amazon folks. Oh, they're already up there. Excuse me, I get old, I miss these things sometimes. Kim S., Jorge G., Sam R., and Michael B. are our Amazon $25 gift card winners today. Thanks, guys. Our team will reach out to you and get that out to you. Guys, we only got a few minutes left. But let's talk. It's been a crazy year of digital transformation, right? It saved us. It saved our bacon in many ways. How are you getting? Where are you seeing pickup? I mean, obviously, Quicken Online is a huge customer. How are we getting? There's so many companies moving to the cloud. There's so much workload moving to the cloud. How can we get Opsani into the mainstream of that migration? Right? This seems like such a look. These are the kind of sales jobs I used to like. This is a relatively easy one. How do we get the velocity there, guys? How can we? What do you? Guys, I'm back. I apologize. Hey, Patrick,
Yeah,
I
it seems like
lost
we
you
had
there, man. I apologize.
yeah, it's okay.
I think it was my connection.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, but it said we lost your connection trying to reconnect.
Sure.
So I'm
Well,
not sure when you lost me.
Well, I heard what you said was, how can we get this thing into the mainstream, right? That was
Right. How do we? Yeah.
Well, I think
Well, I mean, beyond.
I'll speak from the I'll
Go
just
ahead.
speak from the go-to-market standpoint, right? That's my role in the company is is the sales and the marketing and the outbound customer-facing stuff. And I think the first thing we do is have a great product, right? The first thing we do is have something that's easy to consume and easy to start showing value and to show a concrete return on investment. And that return on investment is in multiple ways, right? We've talked about a performance return, we've talked about a cost return, and we've also talked about a customer satisfaction return on the end of the SaaS solution. So you make something that's consumable, you make something that's very easy to get implemented, as Ross said. A few minutes to get it up and running, and then less than a day to start showing results, in a day or two to start showing major results, is something that pretty much any customer can adopt. The other thing is we make it very easy to test it. So we have a proof of value that we do. We don't charge for the proof of value. We typically can get it done within a few days. And we have a couple of different things that we can do for customers. One is we've packaged up our what we call Opsani Dev, which is our trial version of our platform, fully functional, fully loaded version. But we packaged that Opsani Dev up with an application with multiple services, a load generator. So you download it; it's a full Kubernetes application. And it's one that's known in the industry. It's a trial application that a lot of people use, and you can either put it in your own infrastructure or you can drive our infrastructure. You can drive an instance in ours. So that's one quick way. And then another way is customers will give us a service that has a load going across it, typically a production service, and we will optimize that. And so they'll see then very, very quickly the returns in both the performance and the utilization side. So that's one thing, is make it easy and make it easy to implement. I mean, Ross has probably got some other comments on this as well. No?
Ross, I have a question for you though, and that is, how soon do you think it'll be before we look back on people not using automated optimization like this? And it's kind of like people who prefer to drive a 6-speed versus an automatic transmission, right?
Yeah,
it's quaint.
It's going to be a gradual transition, I think. It's going to take a couple of years. So I think it's going to be 3-5 years before it becomes that you'd be looking at that. Imagine those crazy days when people used to tune applications by hand. So it's going to be like, the same as the self-driving cars. We're going to be saying, remember those crazy days when people used to drive their own cars? There's already cars that are being self-driven, and there's going to be adoption by the early adopters, and it'll increase over time until it becomes becomes the norm. And I think a couple of years from now, we'll be looking back at imagine those times that we made these settings by hand.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree. I remember interviewing, I think it was the founder of Puppet 4 or 5 years ago. And he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, look, Alan, in 25 years, only software is going to write software, right? Whether he's right, wrong, you believe him or not, time will tell. But I think certainly within 5 years,
right,
only software will optimize cloud infrastructure for sure.
Love it.
I'm really excited to see where else this goes, because like you, Ross, you've made a believer out of me. I'm excited by the power of what this can do.
That's true.
So good stuff there.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we are about out of time. I apologize. It looks like we all lost our connection there for a moment, but thank goodness the webinar stayed up. If you're watching this on demand, we hope you enjoyed it. For those who came on live, thanks for joining us. Pat, Ross, thank you so much for a great demo, a great insight into really some groundbreaking technology here. I love to see this stuff. Keep up the great work at Opsani. Come back and visit us. Well, we're gonna do some TechStrong TV stuff too on this, so we'll go from there. Thank you, guys. This is Alan Schimmel for MediaOps. Thank you. This is Alan Schimmel for MediaOps, DevOps.com. Thanks for joining us on another webinar. We have a bunch more coming up this week. Hope to see you then. But for now, that's going to wrap. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.